I just want to open it up, and you all get first choice. There's Mark. Yeah. I was looking to see if anybody had questions, if we have the mics. Well, while we're waiting, and I don't see any hands with questions. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. That's wonderful. That's it.
Please don't let Sid ask all the questions.
No, I always ask tough ones.
My name is Brian Perlstein. I'm from Owens Corning. And my question really is around how do you guys engage more at the plant level itself? Get the plant leaders, the ops leaders, the maintenance leaders, how do you get them to engage and understand what you're doing and why you need to do it and how to get them to support you?
From a digital transformation perspective,
Or a security
Brian?
perspective.
I would say from both. I mean, linking both together.
Okay. Go ahead, Ricky.
So one of the things that we've done is we've actually, within manufacturing, so our refining and chemicals business, we've set up site governance teams that are focused on what we call digital manufacturing. So looking at opportunities that would improve certain KPIs at that facility out of a tool set that we provided globally for them to choose. And so giving a lot of empowerment to the sites to say they're responsible for P&L typically at that location. Here's some solution sets that have gone through a life cycle of proof of concept, piloting, all the cybersecurity validation, et cetera, and you can deploy these capabilities where you see them providing the most value. So we have that structure in place for manufacturing. Within the upstream, I would say a similar governance has been set up within an organization called the Digital Transformation Org, and they're really working with business units to develop digital roadmaps. And again, aligning with the key priorities within the business unit, because all these things cost money and they take people's time at the site. And when the site is trying to operate safely, reliably, and make the corporation money. Yeah, exactly. And so we're really focused from that perspective, raising awareness and then helping the sites develop their roadmaps to the highest value opportunities. And then there's still a lot of questions that circulate within different business lines of ExxonMobil, because we do have upstream, midstream, downstream chemicals, of where does the funding ultimately come from. And right now the funding is still coming from the actual operating unit at the site level typically. And so that's why uptick of some of these capabilities across the global fleet of assets can take time, because sites still have to operate their plant safely, reliably, and then look for opportunities to fund these types of initiatives. So that's on, I would say, the digital transformation side.
Dan?
Very different from a cyber side, but go ahead.
No, so I would echo that. I mean, it sounds like our program pretty much. I mean, from a digital transformation perspective. So, the one thing you didn't mention, but I'm sure you do it as well, is besides offering a suite of digital transformation technologies, we look for the next idea from all those sites. Especially, you don't know where the next great idea of how to merge some digital capability with some outcome that really will transform the way Dow works. You don't know where that's going to come from. So you have to be able to take those in. Now, not all of them are going to make sense, and not all of them are going to be scalable, right? But you got to have an open conduit. That also gets the plants bought in to the fact that they should participate, because their idea may be one that changes the way Dow does manufacturing in some business, right? From a cybersecurity point of view, we have mirrored that, right? And what we do is we have a very aggressive communications and culture change program where we've got operating leaders, manufacturing leaders from different large sites helping advise us and then sending back out. So we have things like little muted videos that play in break rooms in every plant in Dow. And they're showing what happens if you plug a USB port into a process control system and the skull and crossbones and everything's locked up and you see the guy very sheepishly taking it and putting it in his pocket, right? So very clear message, right? I mean, without words, because, you can't, there's a lot of noise in a plant, but that kind of stuff where we're constantly sending those messages out is really important to get that culture changed, right? To start shifting that on the cyber side. And the third thing, or the second thing we've done is we have decided, right, that as centralized as Dow is, we cannot affect the culture change without actually embedding people in the plants. And so we've got a new role we've defined, right, and they are in the plant they're living every day in the plant, but their accountability and their role is on the digital side and the cybersecurity side to bring those worlds together at the plant site, right, at the sites. And that's been a major investment by our operations organization, but they have done it. And it's starting to show a real big change in the way we change the culture and also how we actually get some of these technologies out in a more secure manner. So,
Let me just follow up. I want to just let them ask the question, but I want to follow up with something because of what, I made it, both of you, because it's very similar. But, I made the comment up there earlier about, trying to review every idea and it doesn't work and standards doesn't work. But it sounds to me, it sounds very interesting. It sounds like you're both doing the same thing in the sense that you're saying, no, we are part of the group that is driving the digital transformation, and we're going to develop things that will work. I mean, I'm assuming it's things like, maybe you do something with remote predictive maintenance or something like that, where this group first develops it. It's not, and you're making it available to the operations. The operations have to adopt it. It's their choice. But, so you kind of got ahead of the security issues as well as all the technology selection, all those kinds of issues, rather than let the plants all come up with different ideas and then have to deal with that. Am I characterizing it?
I mean, a lot of the good ideas come from plants, right? So, but the idea is when that a good idea comes and they've actually maybe done a POC that they want to expand and scale, they have to realize the sooner they get kind of the organization, right? We have digital councils at every site, and the sooner they get those people involved, even in a POC, the very early stages, the faster they'll be able to turn that around if it's successful. Because if they wait, right, then we do have to do some security assessments. We have to do some infrastructure. Does it fit, and will it break other things? And, and so that culture change of, moving so fast that you break other things. We're trying to say, no, move fast and include all the questions, right? Not just the questions about can I do it, but should I do it?
No, I agree. The only thing I'll add on to that is it's key to also have some foresight into looking at where the opportunities could be, so we can develop the appropriate architectures from an enabling perspective and a cyber perspective. So when these great ideas come, they can plug into an enterprise architecture that's readily available. So we don't break things, but also so we don't introduce vulnerabilities which could impact some of our very critical systems.
So you're being proactive about
to the best of our ability. To the best of our ability.
And actually, in the case of Dow, it even sounds like the company is saying, we're going to put people in the plant who are actually going to encourage it. I mean, they're there to understand the operations and then be the person there saying, oh, maybe we could do it this way, to think. I mean, so you're trying to drive digital transformation, but you're kind of controlling the driving as opposed to reacting to the fact that
guiding the driving, yeah. Which is difficult to do still, right? Large sites with money and budget are going to try to do stuff on their own, but you need to be in contact enough, right, so that they see some value in being involved.
Understood.
And so we have some visibility.
Yeah, I think you all just heard a couple of great stories about great companies that are doing this in the right way from the top down. What I wanted to contribute was we've done a lot of assessments and strategy reviews in different plants, and I will say from the bottom up, the people who are running the plants, the plant managers, they're chemical engineers and electrical engineers, and they care about the company, they're good at their job, and they already today have a tremendous awareness of cybersecurity issues. What they don't know and they're hungry for, and we've seen this over and over again, more knowledge and more sharing, and it can be a simple matter of sharing the firewall logs, because a lot of times I've met plant managers who are saying, well, we know we're under attack, we know things are going on in here, I'd like to just know more about it, and we could help out and be part of that process. So there's a tremendous amount of drive there that you can take advantage of. It's not like you're imposing something on them. And that really would be applicable to companies that are not quite as far along the curve as these two guys are.
Stinson, do you want to add anything or not? 10 minutes. Okay, I didn't know if Stinson wanted to comment.
Let's move on to the next question. I think we.
Yeah, okay, because it was really one dedicated towards the users, I would say, to the manufacturers. Go ahead. So you're kind of a mix to me.
Yeah.
You're a mix. not you individually, but your company.
All right, next question. Yeah, Dale Rodriguez from Palo Alto Networks. I'm very curious on what you guys have in terms of migration to the cloud. What is the use case? And also from a cybersecurity standpoint, maybe you could share some of the internal discussions in terms of what were the questions asked, perceived risk, and how did you get it bought off for adoption? Right?
Stinson.
All right, so
How many hours do you guys have to answer that question?
yeah, I'll make
Yeah.
mine short. So forever, we've actually hosted all the application infrastructure on-prem, and we're right now in the midst of migrating to the cloud. We've chosen to partner up with AWS, and so we're moving the application infrastructure to AWS. That said, when we talked about sort of Insight Platform, where we host all the applications, and then we talk about Insight Connect, which is the whole sort of secure connectivity platform, that still essentially resides on-prem in our controls. So we have 2 network operation centers that are sort of active mode that we, control everything there, and that's sort of the gateway to the edge or to the site, and all the devices that are on the site are things that we've purpose-built and essentially route through those network operation centers, and then really the application endpoint is either the cloud or an on-prem data center. And so we've chosen at this point to continue to use our own on-prem purpose-built network operations and edge components. We are not moving to like the AWS IoT, Edge or Greengrass or any of these things yet. I mean, we're doing some experimentation with that stuff, and I'm very curious to learn also about patterns that are being adopted from sort of edge to cloud using some of the major cloud players' platforms. But we are moving the application infrastructure. So, and I think from my perspective, customers are fairly resistant to that a couple of years ago, but I think the adoption of that is starting to get better. But I'd love to hear actually like from Ricky or from Dow.
We still have tremendous resistance to it, pretty much everywhere.
Go ahead and I'll follow up.
Well, I mean, there's really not enough time to answer that question.
You used his answers before.
Yeah,
This is what Dow does.
So
You just copied that.
Dow a couple of years ago did what Dow does. I mean, everything moves to the cloud. That was an edict from up above, right? It hit the manufacturing firewall and tried to go across and just crashed and burned, right? Because there's no way, there's some things that just aren't going to go to the cloud. Now, the problem with that is it's not a yes or no answer, right? It's not everything or nothing, right? There's a mix. And so we are now negotiating that mix, right? And I'm wearing my cyber hat, we have to show that it's a reasonable approach and that we can reduce the risk enough so that some stuff can go there. Wearing my digital transformation hat, I have to talk to the manufacturing folks. If you want this, if you want something like what these guys have done, you can't keep living behind a single firewall at every plant and keep the segmentation. Or if you do, we have to figure out some pretty hefty infrastructure increases, right, to figure out how we're going to get those signals. So it's sort of this coming together. So I don't think we took the tack of either or, let's go. That wasn't right. Some manufacturing people will tell you nothing, and that's not right. And then you got to negotiate between there, which isn't a great answer, but it's hard work. And I think Ricky mentioned some architecture stuff. There is some advances that most manufacturing people and most chemical engineers, process engineers have never seen, never heard of, because we live in the plant. But there's some very, very incredible things going out in the rest of the world that we may be able to apply. We just need to figure out how to get some of that knowledge, expertise in, and then evaluate it in our circumstance, in our use case. So.
Yeah, so very similar comments. I would say we look at the opportunities, whether it's cloud or any type of enabling technology, a little bit differently across each of our business lines and across the different opportunity areas within the business line. So I'll give an example. For our unconventional upstream business, there's a lot of opportunities out there which cloud can provide some significant benefits for. So we've been on a journey to understand how do we connect the wellhead to the cloud in a secure manner, because that unlocks a lot of computing capabilities that you just don't have in West Texas because of logistics and telecommunication challenges. A lot of computing power in Texas, just not West Texas. Just not in Midland, correct. So those opportunities, they have to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. To me, the cloud is just an enabling, a potential enabler for certain opportunities, and it needs to be looked at from a risk perspective, a data integrity perspective. Do you need that data in real time? Can you secure that with leveraging some of the cloud capabilities? All those questions flow into that evaluation process. So it's not a binary answer. It's a platform that can be taken advantage of to provide some great benefits, but it needs to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis.
We're going to have to stop the panel now. You know, I mean, I know we have like 5 minutes left, but I didn't realize we had, the luncheon thing started at 12.
Yep.
So I want to give everybody a chance to go get a lunch. But let me ask this, are you all available for like a round table later? To sit on one of those round tables on this topic?
Sure.
Okay? So, you know, the thing we have at 4 o'clock, the thing that we're just kind of piloting right now, these round tables, we're going to have one on this session, and these guys will be there. So it's not like I'm cutting off your ability to ask questions. It's just when the time you get to answer. And you can think more about it.
Yes, you are, Sid.
Make hard.
Yeah, you are.
Well, I'm trying to respect people what want to eat.
Yes.
I've been in places like, you know, you don't want to be in line, you know, and
Yeah.
keeping people from the bar. You don't want to be in that position. Food's just as bad. All right, well, would you join me in thanking the panelists and the